everyone, I'm Madi.
And I'm Lor.
And welcome to another episode of Beyond the Barricade. Today, we are talking to Jordan Shepard, Jshep.
Yes.
Of City of Auburn. I'm claiming him now. He's collectively one of our friends. He is our friend now.
A friend to
collectively,
all.
a friend to all.
A friend to none.
However, I met him thanks to L'Oreal, who has known Jordan for quite some time.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you guys met and how we know Jshep now?
I know Jshep actually from work. So for those who don't know, I work a full-time job plus like every other thing that I'm involved in. So
she doesn't sleep ever.
Don't know her. So I actually met Jshep at work in the office. And when we first met each other, we kind of had like this perception of like, are you like a cool person? Do we like the same things? It's
you gotta feel each other out.
You have to feel each other out. I mean, with any interaction, I think when you're like meeting somebody like around your age for the same time, you're like, can you hang? Are you cool? Do you like the same things that I like? Okay, we're friends.
Yeah.
That's the steps of meeting people. And so that's how Jshep and I met. And at my job, there was a like little tight like circle of us where all like the like-minded people kind of like gravitate into your
naturally kind of,
You get your friends, you get your circle. And it was us against the world. It was like a core of like 4 of us. And
you have a lot of cool people at your work.
I do work with a lot of cool people.
Or your like group of friends that you have from work. I feel like most of your closest friends are from work, which is cool.
Yeah. And whether I've known them like before work, because a few of them I've known like before going there, and then everyone else has like been after that. But regardless, you find your people, your like-minded people, and you stick with them, and they just get it. Yeah. And Jshep was no exception to that. He just got it. He understood everything. There was no need to
same wavelength.
Yeah, same wavelength. You didn't have to like back anything up that you said or like provide any proof of anything. It was just like, okay, like that makes sense. Okay, I get it. And still to this day, he is one of my best friends. I probably talk to Jshep maybe like 3 times a week. And he'll message me randomly like, hey, or text me like, just checking in. How you doing, friend? And I mean, it goes back to the point, and we'll get a little personal here in this intro. Yeah. When I was going through like my, like after I was divorced, like my first kind of like major breakup and everything, like I was broken up with the week before I turned 30. Yep. By like by a boy, and we were devastated. I was like, my life, everything was like changing. Like I was about to get ready to move. I was doing so much stuff like in my mind happening.
So much was up in the air in your life.
So much was up in the air. And also like nobody really knew what was happening on the outside, because my ex-husband and I, we had been separated for over a year now. And so
did people know you were separated?
Jshep knew.
Only? Like
not only.
Out of like,
there was a very small handful of people. Like our families didn't know though. So it was very tight. And we did that intentionally because it worked for us and it was fine. And
you don't have to broadcast everything.
You don't. No, it's okay. it's okay. And I will stand by that so until the day I die. Yeah. But Jshep knew. And he knew the ins and outs of what was going on with me mentally and personally and everything. And I remember I got dumped the week before I turned 30.
Not by your ex-husband, by
the boyfriend.
The guy that you dated
after
the divorce.
Yeah. Past like separate, like long gone ex-husband and I were like cool. We're like, what's up, dude? But I was devastated. Heartbroken, Laura. I was like, this is my first like heartbreak ever. And I remember like on my birthday, I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to be alone, essentially, like on my birthday, turning 30. Jshep was like, no, you're not. He said, we're playing this show, City of Auburn. We're playing a show and you're coming. Like I'm picking you up or I'm taking you and you're not going to be alone on your birthday. And I wasn't. And I remember I went to this bar that they were playing at, and it was my first like interaction like outside of the world that was just like shattered. Yeah. And he did not leave my side. And it was like, I knew like his girlfriend, Claire, is just as amazing as him. And she had to work like last minute. And she was like texting me all throughout the night, checking in on me. And they played a 1975 cover for me.
That's so cute.
He put it back on the set list for me. So when I tell you guys, I will ride and die for Jshep, I will ride and die for Jshep. Like, he is one of those, like, I don't even think you knew that story.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. He made sure that I was always okay and that I was never like alone.
I feel like you lived a completely... Like, you lived a whole life before I even met you, because I didn't know you. I never knew you when you were married. And like, when we met, you were like living on your own. And I missed this whole part of your life.
You did, yeah.
Which is why. So it's wild to like hear stories, but also I meeting Jordan through doing this interview and like knowing you, I can so see that. And he seems like such a genuine person.
Yeah.
And it's so rare for you to have people in your life that will not only like check up on you, but like drag you out and be like, no, you need to do this. And I'm going to make sure you have a fun 30th birthday when you could have so easily just like sat at home and been alone and sad and continually checking up on you. Like, it's such a special person that does that.
Such a special person. And I think a lot of it has to do with the follow through.
Yeah.
Because so many people, especially when you have things that like big happen in your life, it's very easy and common for people to reach out, but wanting to just know what happened.
Yeah.
They
or
don't
even
care.
Just for the like, I almost even feel it's so easy to like message people and just be like, oh, I'm here, but not
mean it.
Not do anything, not like... Yeah.
Jshep could be the furthest from that.
He actively like took the initiative to show up and be what you needed in that time.
Yeah.
Which is so great.
Still to this day continues to be. I mean, that was over 2 years. Like that was a minute ago.
Yeah.
Or I guess over a year and a half ago, because I'm 31 now. Yeah. But yeah, like still to this day, like super supportive of the podcast. Yeah. You guys kind of get to know a little bit. He's actually played a little role in Beyond the Barricade.
Yeah.
Yes. So we uncovered that. And he is the true homie. Like, to this day, like, again, our relationship and my relationship with his girlfriend is so just like, I don't know. It feels so good to like be able to have like normal conversations and not have to like constantly like be like why aren't we hanging out? We're not best friends. It's one of those where it's like I can go like a month without seeing somebody, and then whenever we do see each other, it's like nothing changed.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
You didn't
and they
skip
get
a
it.
beat. Yeah.
And maybe it's because he is a musician and he tours and
he gets the lifestyle of
like some things you have to travel, and Claire is integrated in that as well because she's just like, you gotta go. Yeah. So couldn't find a better person for him, honestly. So
I was so thankful that I got to meet Jordan, and we met Claire too, or I met Claire at the show where we interviewed Jordan as well. And everything you were saying was so apparent. Like, they are just such genuine, sweet people, and I felt like I'd been friends with them forever. That was the first time I met them.
There's no BSing with them. They are exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And there's no hiding things. There's no like trying to be somebody they're not.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah. They're incredible. We cannot sing their praises enough.
Yes. You'll see it a little bit if you're watching the video aspect of this interview, because we have a really good time. Yeah. This interview is funny. Again, it was in a green room. There was a lot of like music going on. This is also one of the earlier interviews that we've actually done.
I think this was the second one.
Probably.
We did. We like recorded.
Yeah. So we were figuring some stuff out still. But again, Jordan, just being the amazing person that he is, was like, all right, like, let's go.
Not only is he such like an incredible person, but he had so much to talk about with the questions that we wanted to know about his journey of being a musician and growing up, being a music fan. Like, he had so much good stuff to say. We had such a good conversation. Like, it's such a fun interview. Yeah. It's Green Room Chronicles. So we have some guest appearances that just pop in because that's the nature of it.
Yep. Yeah. And again, just you're about to listen to all of it. You're about to watch all of it. And we're excited for this one for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here is Jordan Shepard.
Yeah.
Jshep.
Jshep-y. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Barricade. Right?
Yep.
Yes, that's the name we're sticking with. Trademarked. TM. Welcome to Beyond the Barricade. We are Madison and L'Oreal. I am L'Oreal.
I am Madison.
And we are here today with the one and only Jshep, as I know him, but you might know him as...
I'm Jordan Shepard. That's my name. That's my legal name. That's what you can call me. If you call me any 2-syllable J name, I'll respond.
That is true.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Jordan is a fantastic musician and an even better human. And he is currently playing guitar. Not right now currently, but he is playing guitar. He plays guitar for
I do. That is one of the things I do.
That is. You do a lot of things. He is the guitarist for the amazing band City of Auburn. And so, hi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, is it?
It's going to be fun.
Are you having a great time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, already?
Yeah.
We've been fucking around for a little bit, but it's been good. Yeah.
That's what we do.
So, to give a little backstory to Jordan and how this friendship blossomed and bloomed, Jordan and I used to work with each other many, many moons ago. And we have an equally weird love for just all things stupid and silly, goofy things. Mm-hmm. And when I told Jordan one time about how, hey, I met this girl, Madison, and we both have this love for music photography and whatever, he was like, fantastic, I need to meet her. And I said, okay, great. And that was like a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it finally happened.
And it finally happened. Here we are.
Here we are.
Here we are. And
dreams come true, guys. Dreams really do come true.
They do. And so Jordan has actually been like one of the people who have been in constant loop of my life in general, but also the development of Backing the Barricade and watching it go to where it is now. And he's been the biggest supporter of a human. I love you so much.
He's been great.
Oh,
yeah. But fun fact for the podcast, I told Jordan about the idea that we had for a podcast. I was like, I have no idea what to call it. Madison just learned how to talk yesterday. Correct?
So I hear.
Yes, yeah. So
I'm new to this.
So I don't know what to call it. And this is the idea. And he goes, it's Beyond the Barricade.
I like that I'm just now finding out that that was his idea because L'Oreal told me that and I was like, I love it.
I totally took credit for
You're
your
welcome.
idea.
My office hours are 3 to 6 on Mondays.
No mention that Jordan came up with that name, but now I know we have you to thank.
I outed myself, and so I have nobody to blame but myself.
You're gay?
Yeah. Welcome to the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're all just learning a lot today.
Oh, this is amazing.
That was way too off the wrong part of the dome for that one.
We are 2 minutes into this interview.
Yep. It's going great.
So anyway, Jordan came up with the name for our podcast. Everybody has to thank him now in the comments and by liking the podcast. But anyway.
I'll send you my Venmo.
Yes.
Perfect.
For the royalties, you know.
Exactly.
You're going to make so much money
obviously
off of this project.
Yes.
And I need some of it. I'm
Correctly.
sorry.
You have to.
It's the capitalist way.
I get paid on the... Anyway.
You guys are getting paid?
Anyway.
So,
bringing it all back to the idea of the podcast, I remember telling Jordan, I was like, so we have the interviews that we do in line with fans waiting to go see concerts, waiting to see these bands that they are literally devoted to camping out hours, days to go see. With our podcast, we want to flip the narrative and we want to interview the people in the band, the people who are working the industry. But we want to keep it kind of focused on their point of view and their perspective as when they were a fan. So that's what we want to talk to you about. Because you are now a guitarist in a touring band.
Yeah.
Which is insane to think about. I remember you told me that you were going on tour with Every Avenue and I yelled at you.
You did.
I did, quite literally.
I was a little scared.
As you should have been, because I was very angry. But it's just one of those things that you're just like, I will never do that. And then here's Jordan, like, oh, I'm doing it.
Yeah. And I think that was one of the biggest ideas for the podcast is that obviously most, if not all the people in the music industry, whether you're a musician or anyone that works behind the scenes, more than likely you started off as a fan of music. That's kind of what we wanted to talk to all the people beyond the barricade about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going back to young Jordan, not baby Jordan, old enough to discover your own music taste. What do you think that first band that you listened to and you were like, oh shit, I like this music?
So there's kind of two...
And
there's kind of two sides of this coin because I grew up in a very conservative Christian household. So it was all Christian music growing up.
Oh.
Like the classics, the Stephen Curtis Chapmans, the Third Day. So that was kind of where my musical base was born. I learned most of what I know on guitar from learning a lot of that music. Dang, that sucks for you. You should go back. Actually, I don't know if it would have... a lot of it's nostalgic value, but some of it's just really, really good music.
All right.
But then I had a friend, their name's Dylan. Dylan is a legend because Dylan introduced me to the world outside of that bubble.
Okay.
Dylan used to burn CDs for me. This was back in the burning CDs days, in like the late 2000s, early 2010s.
Yes.
Like Spotify was on the horizon, but wasn't quite
I
there
love
yet.
it. Yep. LimeWire,
Apple Music.
Right. Like you were still
iTunes.
Or iTunes. Not even Apple Music.
You were still like buying the songs and downloading them straight to your computer.
99 cents each. Yeah.
Or your L'Oreal and illegally downloading it.
Yeah,
Right?
we had other methods.
Yes.
There was this really great plugin on internet browsers that you could just rip the audio from a YouTube video.
YouTube to MP3.
No, it was just a button that would appear above a YouTube video and just download the audio.
Oh, I wish I had that.
Yeah, it was
I was
great.
doing the whole process.
So Dylan gave me a CD one time. They would do this to me. Like, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. He hands me a CD that has All We Know by Paramore on it.
Oh.
And I nearly shit my pants. Because there was something about, I was like, that thing.
It was new.
And then they showed me Anberlin.
Oh, yeah.
And that was where I was like, I got into kind of the intermingling of how the music makes the lyrics mean more than the lyrics can by themselves.
Ooh, the deconstruction of the actual song.
Right, like how the interplay between the music and the message of it, and how the voice is an instrument in and of itself. Yeah. Because Anberlin's vocals are just insane. And I'll get back to Anberlin here in a little bit. But it was kind of the progression from like the alt rock to some of the heavier stuff. I got into the kind of the Christian side of the hard rock world, the Skillets, the Reds, the Fireflights, the stuff that you listen to for a while, and then you turn 16 and you move on.
Yeah.
And then I got into like metalcore and August Burns Red, and then I got into I'm trying to think of like Memphis Mayfire and Of Mice and Men, and
you really had a journey.
Slowly down the rabbit hole. But the whole time I'm still listening to stuff like John Mayer and B.B. King and Muddy Waters and Led Zeppelin and Stevie Ray Vaughan. There's a lot of kind of that bluesy classic rock route that feels very integral to how my brain perceives music. Yeah. That's kind of where my hands default to when I pick up a guitar.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of that in the Christian music that I listen to. There was a lot of that kind of, it's kind of the, like all of your favorite bands cite the Beatles as their favorite band, but they sound nothing like the Beatles. Yeah. It's kind of that one or two steps down the road, kind of, grunge walked so pop punk could run.
Wow, hot take. But also facts.
I'm not wrong. I don't have any wrong music opinions, but they're my music opinions.
So they can't be wrong.
Like for example, there are records that'll come out and like, hey, I've liked everything this band has put out. This record's not for me. That doesn't make it a bad record. It's just not for me.
Exactly.
So after I kind of went through my metalcore phase, and I missed the Warped Tour era. I never got to go to Warped Tour.
No way.
I was too homeschooled for that.
Oh.
I'm so
what
mad.
An era.
I'm still
what
mad.
An era to miss.
But then I started to kind of find, like, there was other stuff along the way. Like Dylan introduced me to Emery, and then I got really into Emery, and other bands from Tooth and Nail Records, like the Classic Crime and all that kind of sphere of things. Yeah. So I'm picking up a lot of these very different influences along the way. It's a very eclectic range. And so I'm like, well, what do I do with all this? I couldn't really decide if I wanted to make heavier music or lighter music. And then I met Mike, the singer in City of Auburn. And
how old are you at this point?
I was 20. I was 20. I James, who plays keys with us now, he was the drummer, and he and I have been friends for years and years and years. He asked me, hey, one of the bands I play in needs a fill-in guitar player. Are you down? I was like, yeah, I'm down. So I meet up with Mike and learn the songs, and we played a few shows, and then he was like, do you want to join the band? I was like, hell yeah.
Oh.
And then Mike and I started kind of diving more into like, what do we want to do? And so there was a lot of Paramore built into that, a lot of Anberlin built into that. And then started to discover some other bands along the way. But I think the first time I distinctly remember going to a show, like strictly as a fan.
Hello. Hi. Hello.
We're doing a little podcast moment.
Hey, I'm James. Go stream Millennial Trash on Spotify if you can.
Oh, wait, this is James.
Beautiful.
Hi, James.
We were talking about you.
Yeah, we were just talking about you.
Why?
I was telling them how I joined City of Auburn.
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah. He's so tall.
James is just me, but 6'4".
Wait,
love
James, can you
that.
touch the ceiling? Can you touch the ceiling?
He's almost touching him with his head.
James and I used to be roommates.
Oh, cool.
And they were roommates.
And they were roommates. I think... Resuming.
Yep.
The first show that I remember attending purely as a fan...
Yes. Okay, wait, let me ask that question.
Yeah.
What was the first show that you remember going to as a fan?
There's two that happened in very quick succession. I can't remember which one came first. First one was Mute Math.
Damn.
Odd Soul Tour at House of Blues. Blew my mind. And Dylan also introduced me to music. Dylan's responsible for my whole music taste.
I love that.
Where's Dylan now?
Dylan is in Virginia. Dylan's a good human.
Yes. Good people.
It was
Math.
Mute Math and Need to Breathe
Wow.
in quick succession. So my dad actually got me into Need to Breathe.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was like, hey, I heard this band on the radio. You should go check them out. I think it'd be up your alley. Because it's kind of rock and rolly, but it's also very southern and got a little bit of an edge to
Yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it. I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that's like when you first saw like your worlds could collide?
Yeah. As I got older, mine and my parents' music tastes started converging.
Blending.
My mom's and I still does that to this day.
Yes.
Welcome.
Speaking of City of Auburn, your mom's music and it still blends in.
It still starts like
The Shania Twains.
The Shania Twains, I got her into John Mayer. I got her into Teddy Swims. And then we were going to go see Tears for Fears together because I fucking love Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
That got rained out, unfortunately. But it was Need to Breathe, 2012, also House of Blues, touring The Reckoning with my dad. And I remember leaving that show and going, that is what I want to do for a living.
Yeah.
There was a magic to it. I watching a band that I already just loved their music, but watching how that felt to experience, I was like, I want to make that happen for other people.
Yeah.
I want to make that feeling I just had happen for other people, but I also want to know what it feels like to do that. And I hadn't really done that. I'd only played like in church and stuff like that at this point in my life.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I remember feeling that I'd found the thing I wanted to do.
The light switch turned on.
The light switch turned on for me at really more the Need to Breathe show than the Mute Math show, because the Mute Math show was the first non-Christian concert I'd ever gone to.
Okay.
It was my first time in just a normal-ass venue, not a church that was converted into a venue for the night.
I mean, to some people, that is church. Mute Math is church.
Yeah. There is something in experiencing music in that format that is somehow inherently spiritual. And I've always felt that way.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what show it is or who's playing. If it's something that I really connect with, that there's something that just kind of, it's that extra 5 or 10% that can't really be articulated, but it's there.
You feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I felt like you had something to.
Well, I just was gonna elaborate a little bit on that. So I know, is there anything? Cause I love the stories of like the one show where you're like, this is it, and I feel like it goes beyond the like just hearing songs that you like live. Was there anything like that the band really did on stage where you're like, I want to do, or like that carries over into how you perform now or how you hope to perform in the future?
Oh, I have so many things like this.
I love that.
I owe almost my entire stage presence vibe to Mark Holcomb from Periphery.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
Because I saw them live, and just because he and I are we're kind of similarly built, like the whole long hair thing. He was the reason I saw him. I was like, he kind of looks in my ballpark. I want to grow my hair out like that.
I could do that. I could do that.
But just watching the way he performed, also watching the guys from Need to Breathe, the way they perform and the way that they carry themselves. There's so much than just playing the guitar. It's performing your music.
Absolutely.
And I learned that that first Need to Breathe show, I saw a lot of that, just like making sure that you look like you love your music as much as they do.
Yeah.
We've talked about that even being photographers, how we have artists that are just so fun to shoot. And we're like,
So fun.
I could shoot I could go on tour with you and shoot the same show over and over, and it would be so exciting. And then there are artists that kind of just get up on stage and they play their music, they stand in their spot, and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Because I've shot shows before where typically you get the first 3 songs, and I'm like, 3 songs is more than enough. Like, I don't need any more.
They're not doing anything.
Yeah. I think stage presence plays such a big part of that magic of shows.
And that's one thing that it took us a little bit to get there, but doing it always came naturally to me once I started playing with City of Auburn, but actually putting time into working on it, and especially seeing video of us playing and seeing photos of it, watching it back, and I used to I would just set my phone up side stage and stream our whole show to Facebook.
I love that,
just so I could go back and rewatch it.
Yeah,
I was like, if y'all want to watch, cool. I'm doing this for myself.
Yeah,
it's the best way to learn.
And then watching other bands that I really, really love, watching the way they do things, and even musical things, like how they transition between songs, how there's some bands they play songs from their albums, and seeing the way that their whole show works. And I'm a nerd, so I got into the whole gear side of things, how to make a show work. There was just so much of it, doing stuff like that. I took a whole day off of work for me. Is doing a show. It's a whole day off work for me.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of work. We had to rehearse last night, and then we had to, I got to restring all my guitars and make sure all the tracks are working, and then get everything loaded in, all just to stand up on a stage and play 6 songs and then fuck off.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of a week's vacation in my brain.
Yeah. It also feels like it. It feels good.
Because I'm not thinking about anything but how much I love doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I don't know if this is verifiable. Some people make money doing this.
I think
no way.
If that's the case, I need to find out how. Because so far I haven't.
People are getting paid?
Apparently. But we'll get there. We're starting.
Same with the podcast. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And you'll get your royalties when we do.
You gotta start somewhere.
Exactly.
You gotta start somewhere. I think the show that had the overall biggest impact on me was I saw there's a co-headliner of Memphis Mayfire and Yellow Card.
Oh.
But Emarosa opened.
Damn.
And this was their first tour with Bradley Walden on vocals.
Okay. Tell us about that show.
They had just put out verses. I have never seen a member of a band who was that connected to both the band and the crowd. It was captivating.
What do you think he was doing that was so different?
There was an energy he was exuding that he was he was the music, but he was also a person who was just there and happened to be part of that.
Yeah.
But he was also part of what was happening in the crowd. He would jump in the crowd a lot, and he was in and around that a lot. But it was just the way that he became every single word he sang was just magic.
That's insane.
And I saw that, I was like, holy shit.
Uh-huh.
You encounter those musicians along the way, whether you get to see them live or not, but there's just whether it's an artist, an album, a song, a performance, that the way I always put it, is it just has some magic.
It does, yeah.
I can't tell you what it was. I can't tell you how to recreate it. I don't think it can be recreated.
Sure.
But there are some things you come across that just have a magic, and you have to hold on to those things.
Yeah.
Never let those things slip out of your memory. Great example. There's 2 records to me that have a magic that cannot be replicated. When I Was Younger from Colony House.
Oh.
Such a good one.
I'm going to Nashville for that show.
Shut up. I contemplated it.
I bought tickets immediately. That is my favorite record of all time.
I am so jealous.
That is gun to my head, that's my favorite record of all time. Number 2 is Try Hard from the band Camino.
We are in good this is so awkward.
And now I have a fun story with that record.
Okay, great.
The best, and you know this about me.
I do know the story, yeah.
The best way to get me to not listen to something is when my friends will not shut the hell up about it.
Was that L'Oreal for you?
No, it wasn't. No, it was a bunch of other people. Like when my social media feed is just crammed with one artist's release, I won't listen to it because I need to come into that because I'm a musician and my brain's weird.
Your brain's weird not because you're a musician.
I wasn't listening. Sorry, I didn't ask. I have to want to listen to that thing.
Yeah.
or it has to just happen to be like Black Butterflies from the Main came on my Discover Weekly one day, and I had never listened to the Main before. And now that's one of my favorite records.
Yep.
But I was finally like, okay, I think I'm ready to listen to this record. Mm-hmm. I haven't stopped listening to that record for the last 2 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of moments on that record where I'm like, I'm mad that I didn't write this.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, I had the same feeling when I heard Bad Behavior by the Main for the first time. I was like, this sounds like some shit I'd write.
Literally.
So good.
Yeah.
But it has that magic where it's like, you can't understand how your brain existed without that record.
Yeah.
And you also can't like pinpoint it to exactly what it is. You're just like, it's so good.
It fits.
There's a density to it sonically, especially Try Hard, that is just mesmerizing. Mm-hmm. And they can't write a better song than Haunted. I'm sorry. It's just a fact. It's the best song. You can't write a better song than that.
You really can't.
The band Camino was the first show that we went to together. And I feel like that was
I still haven't seen them.
You have to. Next time they're in town, we're all going.
Yeah. So the record that came out after Try Hard, that one wasn't for me. It's a good record. I like it. It wasn't the one for me.
You can be wrong.
The Dark, holy shit, that's a good record.
So that was the tour that we saw for The Dark.
Oh my God.
So I have a little story for the pod. I think you know it too. Because Jordan knows my whole love life, essentially. Not by choice, but...
I'm here against my will, guys.
I have a gun to his head.
I'm a paid actor.
I was going through a breakup, and I had told Madison we were friends. New friends. Yeah. But we
were very fast friends, but we were still new at this point.
It's okay.
I love it.
And I had agreed to go to the show with Madison. I had just gotten dumped, like days, and kind of parallel or next to each other. The night my birthday came, my 30th birthday, I was alone, lonely. I had no plans. And you were like, you're coming to my show. Let's go. Get in the car. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to. I'm in bed crying. And you're like, no, not on your birthday. And so I went to your show, and you played Sex by the 1975. I
did.
And it was a fantastic experience. And you made sure I wasn't alone. And I thank you so much for that. I texted you this like on my birthday. I was like, you saved my life. Anyway, not the story I was telling. The band Camino was a few days after that. And Madison was like, hey, get in the car. I'm here. And I was in bed. And I was like, oh shit, okay, I'll be right down. And I'm like running. I have my makeup bag, and I just drop it on the ground. And I'm like, hello. Here we go. And she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi. So for me, the newest Band Camino album has a moment in time in my brain. A very like weird, cathartic. My life was like changing in so many ways at once, but also with all this like really bad shit happening. Yeah. There was a lot of good shit happening on the outer skirts of it that now I see.
Yeah, she met me.
I met you.
You know what record did that for me?
That's what I was going to ask you. What record did that? What was there was something really fucking shitty, but then that music got you through.
Good at Falling from the Japanese House.
What a pick.
I had that record on repeat.
Tell the story.
So in 2020, I got divorced and moved into divorce gang. And I moved into an apartment, a little studio in Uptown. And I set up my record player, and I set up my receiver that had Bluetooth on it. And I ended up getting a copy of this record on vinyl, actually from Mike. But I had that album on repeat for a couple of months while I just learned how to breathe again.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing was to sit on my couch, all the lights off, a glass of wine, and that record.
Yes.
And I just learned how to be by myself and how to be comfortable with that. And that record just made me feel so safe.
Yeah.
And let my brain kind of just decompress and like exhale a little bit. That record has magic.
It really does.
It's got the magic for sure. That's the record that like when it was change, pain, but optimism at the same time. And realizing that I no longer had to subject myself to a life that was killing me.
Yeah.
That felt really good, but God, it hurt.
I hate you so much right now. That's so true. I don't actually hate you, but I'm like, it's so true.
If you did, that's fine. I'd understand, but like,
no. But it's so true, and that's I think the really like that's like the invisible barrier. I feel like between like being just a fan of the music, that's like the limit you're gonna hit.
Yeah.
So when you're able to pass that and like actually make the music yourself and perform it in front of people, you're like, you appreciate it a lot more. You're like, holy shit, like I'm able to do that.
And so our last EP is called Where Does It Hurt? All of that music was written while I was trying to figure out what to do about my marriage.
So, okay.
I don't write any of the lyrics, mind you, but writing that music while I'm trying to figure out, do I have to live like this permanently? Because being that I was still very Christian at the time, I didn't think I had much wiggle room there. But a lot of that music was kind of trying to encapsulate that feeling of I need something else. I just don't know if I get to have it. Because where I'm at now is not going to work.
It's a scary jump to make.
But I know, and I do this a lot, but I shortly after I got divorced, I went back to a Need to Breathe record that I'd kind of passed over, unfortunately, just because my brain was not in a space for like new content.
Yeah.
And they have a song called Bottom of a Heartbreak. There's the first line in the bridge says, sometimes I think that if I climbed that hill, I would never need to come down. And I was like, but you got to climb the hill. And I haven't figured out how to do that yet. And writing that music was kind of the catharsis of like I was working a lot of these feelings out in my head. Like my favorite piece of music that I've written that's out on the internet is a song we're playing tonight. It's called There Is Nothing. And that was, writing that, I was able to get this kind of like painful nostalgia sort of emotion that like you're looking back on something, you're like, this was important, but it really hurt. And learning how to like that song's going to feel different to everybody. You know, the Dave Grohl thing, you sing a song at 8,000 people, they sing it at you for 8,000 different reasons. That's the cool part.
Yeah.
But I know what it felt like to write that. And I also know what I was going through when I wrote that. And I can kind of come back to those. It's kind of little timeline markers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I rabbit holed really hard there, but
love that.
That's one of the coolest things I think about music too, is that obviously you wrote it for like such a specific reason, but all of these people are going to hear it, and they're not going through the exact same thing you are, but they're going to attribute it to something in their life, and it's going to become the soundtrack for whatever they're going through.
And that's what it's kind of designed for. These are things that I've experienced as a human, and there's a statistical likelihood that some other humans have experienced this too. And hopefully this finds its way to them.
Yeah. It's one thing when you're able to find people like that in your life too, where you're like, okay, you went through a shitty experience too. We have that to bond with. But when the music connects you to, when you have that like other connection, it's like, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember, I think I kind of know the answer. You kind of mentioned it, your one friend who was showing you all these different bands and everything like that. Have you had that experience with anybody else recently where you're like, listen to this band? It like being able to be an influence into somebody's like music, I guess, taste.
Not to a large extent like that. There have been bands that like I've thrown onto playlists that Claire's gotten really into that she'd never heard before.
Claire's his girlfriend. She's
the best. I love her. I think she actually just got here. I might need to part ways. And
we love Claire. Yes. You showed Claire some music.
Yeah, I've shown Claire a lot of music, and there's a lot of it that she's really like. The song "Sometimes You're the Hammer" by A Day to Remember.
Yes.
We're planning on. We're trying to design a way to get a tattoo of the whole bridge. Somehow without it looking really douchey.
Just a hole.
Yeah, because it's so good.
So good.
But oftentimes, like my preferred method of drying my hair is by headbanging.
You're so
sounds right.
Yep. Checks out.
And sometimes The Hammer is a great song for that.
Yes. Oh yeah. Any A Day to Remember.
Oh yeah. I saw them live a couple years ago. It was a weird lineup. It was Day to Remember, Papa Roach, Falling in Reverse, and Prada.
Yep.
I was there for Prada and A Day to Remember.
Everyone else was there for Papa Roach?
The human I was there with, who I am no longer married to, was there for Papa Roach. And I was like...
There's a reason why you're not married.
I was like, but like, not a bad show. Yeah. I was like, for being as into their career as they are, they actually sound pretty damn good.
The first interview I ever did with a band was Papa Roach.
Heck yeah.
It was so much fun.
Heck yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, but Day to Remember live is always a good time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I got her into them. I got her into some Need to Breathe as well. And just like showing stuff to my mom here and there, just because, she lives in a pretty small musical box.
Yeah.
But like she has great music taste as it is, because like she was a kid of the 70s and 80s. Like she grew up with all the good stuff. Like
birth of so many.
Like later in life, I was like, man, I'm kind of mad y'all kept all the non-Christian music out of the house, because y'all listened to some crazy good shit back in the day.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me you kept Journey out of the house? And Foreigner and Duran Duran.
They're wrong for that.
And like I didn't hear Led Zeppelin for the first time until I was 19.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
And I was like, I'm so pissed right now.
Your life could have been so different.
Y'all knew about this and you didn't tell me?
The biggest gatekeep of it all.
Oh my God. That's all homeschooling is. It's just gatekeeping.
It is a giant gatekeeping.
Yeah, it's just a giant gatekeep. It's a ploy from Big Gatekeep.
Honestly, I can't believe you fell into that. Fell into Big Gate.
Yikes.
Anyway, I think to wrap it up, if you could go on stage and come off of the stage and be like, that was a great show, like, how would you know? What would that moment be? Do you already currently experience it?
I've had a couple shows like that.
What's your biggest takeaway, I guess?
To me, it's like every show feels different, even though we play the same songs a lot.
Yeah. There's
some nights where everything just glues together really well, and there's sometimes you kind of got to fight with it a little bit. Sometimes it plays like butter, sometimes it plays like a truck. But
I've never heard that. Did you just make that up on the spot?
No, that's kind of guitar lingo. Like if a guitar plays really well, it plays like butter. But if you got to fight for it, it kind of plays like a truck.
Oh, okay.
So.
Welcome.
8580.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
That's Carlos. He's our drummer.
Hi, Carlos. You came in like a drummer. I love this.
We went to college together. We were in
Hell yeah.
Gig'em.
We were in gigs.
Yeah.
Gig'em.
Yeah, that's my drummer
we have
now.
Our Aggie here. Look at that. We were in that organization together.
Yep. I thought that was an actual town hall.
I know. It was
Carlos
like Carlos.
kind of knows everybody.
No, but also they're doing like an A&M thing.
No.
Gig'em.
That's a cult.
Gig'em. There you go. Yep. Yep. Nope. Not that. Okay. Did we wrap up? Are we done?
I don't know if we answered the question. What was the moment that you get off stage and you're like, holy shit, everything worked, everything clicked. I did such a good job.
I think it's kind of hard to articulate, because like sometimes it'll feel really, really good. The whole show will feel really good, and then somebody else will be like, it didn't feel that great to me. So it's kind of like, I don't really know how to quantify that, but I think I can see it on people's faces when we're playing.
Yeah.
Like, is this landing the way we want it to or not? And the nights when it does, it's just there's nothing like that. So
I love that.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you. This was fun.
This was so fun.
Everyone go follow Jordan and
go listen to City of Auburn.
Yes. Follow Jordan. Or don't. You don't have to.
Suck, but like, I don't know.
Yep.
All right.
So, what'd you think? I still love opening up with that.
I was about to say that's the go-to. Like, hey, we're back.
What are your thoughts? Tell us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed listening to our interview with Jordan. I cannot call him Jordan now because it feels wrong.
Yes.
Because I've only ever heard you call him Jshep.
Yeah.
It feels too formal now.
Also, you just said, I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. I was just thinking, it was kind of more like a hangout.
It was just a conversation.
I hope you enjoyed being a fly on the wall of us.
Just hanging out.
Shooting the shit, on the couch. It was honestly just truly us talking, but we were holding mics.
Yeah.
And that's so much power. Nobody should do that.
It's more power than we should have,
Yes.
but we granted this to ourselves.
I will say this. I knew of parts of like his life and stuff, but I think it's very interesting hearing him talk about it as if I hadn't known this stuff already, because he does it in a way that's so like, I still feel like I'm learning stuff.
Yeah.
And
I was going to say too, I feel like it's different too from like when you're friends and you just kind of like things naturally come up in conversation or you like learn things about each other as opposed to like sitting down and actually asking the question and hearing the like full on answer and like discussing it. I feel like is different as well.
It's so different. But one of the things that I kind of was like learning about him while still knowing him was his influences.
Yeah.
And how like intentionally they were in his life, even though his life was completely different now. And I think that's still like true and apparent. Like, you can have the whatever influence A looks like and your life look completely different down the road.
We've kind of had this conversation, but it's so funny because we have grown up so differently. You being from New Jersey, me being from Texas, but Jordan talking about all of the like Christian musicians that he grew up listening to and like growing up in a very like conservative household. That was I'm very like, I grew up in Texas and definitely like grew up in the Christian conservative household. My parents are incredible. My whole family's incredible.
I love your family so much.
It was not, I feel like you say that and people think the like, you were only allowed to do this and you were only allowed to do that. That was never the case for me. But obviously that was such like a big part of my upbringing. And so I was in youth group in high school and all of the bands that Jordan referenced are all of the bands that I also listened to.
Yeah.
Skillet was my first, I don't really count it as my first concert. We saw Skillet at Six Flags as a youth group. We went and did a Six Flags day and we went and rode roller coasters and then we saw Skillet after. I thrived. But do you even know who Skillet is?
No.
Okay.
Which I've shot a festival that he played at recently.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, you did. He was at, or they were at So What? Is it a person or a band? I think it's a band. It's a band.
You know,
it is a band.
I don't know.
Okay, it's a band.
I did not watch.
You should listen to them. I will take the hard stance of Skillet is a great band still to this day. I'll vouch for that. I'll play them for you. They're good. But it's, okay, so
That's a big claim.
All of that aside, I feel like it's so funny because even in those circles, like Jshep and I like both gravitated toward, it's still the like kind of heavy hard rock.
Okay.
Like you would enjoy their music.
I feel like I probably know a Skillet song.
You would. It's great. But it's so cool hearing early influences and how you grew up and the people around you and your family and what they listen to have such a big influence, even if it's not, carried on forever. But that's kind of like your just foundation of your music world.
That's a very good way to put it. Like the foundation of what you end up going. It's like the springboard, the trampoline of like your life.
It's what got you
what gets you
launched into it.
Catapults you to listening to and seeing what you do like and what you don't like. So I guess, So Skillet was to you, then what led after that? Because we are not musicians. So we have a very different like
kind of.
It just kind of went to like what we listened to and what kind of
what
helped.
we enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, my family is so great because I definitely had that side of my experience, but my family was also very like, they're still big into classic rock. I just shot Journey and Def Leppard because my mom, my dad, and my two aunts were going and they were like,
you crushed it.
Thank you.
Your film photos are disgusting.
I almost cried. I drop off film and I just say a little prayer that something turns out.
Madi
I was
and I
very
sometimes
happy.
In pits, we'll bring our film camera and we literally look at each other and we're saying, well, we'll see if that works.
Hope something happened.
Your film photos are amazing.
Thank you.
I didn't think they were film. I was like, that's no fucking way.
It was, the production was great, which helps a lot, but
don't discredit yourself.
Thank you.
You're amazing. Yes.
But my family is great. So, my family are big into music, have great music taste, have always been into the like classic rock, have always been big concert goers. So that's always been like a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Which is different, I feel like. But so definitely my family had such a big impact. So it was kind of the youth group Christian scene, but also classic rock. But then we can kind of dive into, I feel like, our generation. I feel like our generation is such a big thing in that early 2000s pop punk was popular. And I think that's the only time that pop punk has ever been, like, Fall Out Boy was on the radio.
And that's, I see, like radio popular.
Yeah, it was radio play popular. Like, people knew them who weren't in the scene.
Yeah.
So early influences as far as like developing my music taste as like my own person, definitely the Fall Out Boy, the All Time Low, the Blink-182. Like, I feel like our generation definitely gravitated toward those, and that's the music that was popular when we were in middle school and high school.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of continued on down the rabbit hole.
That's fair.
So now that I've talked all about that, I love that we talked so much with Jordan about early influences and how like he had so many different sectors of them. What were your early influences?
I love your family. But yes,
great.
They're so different than my upbringing.
Location and family, everything about how we grew up is so different.
It is so different, but I honestly love it.
Yep.
So yeah, my family, I mean, off the bat, my parents have been divorced since I was like in first grade. So, Chico's also from Guatemala. So
Chico is
father.
Dad. You've said that the first time that you referred to that, I thought you were talking about like an uncle or something because I didn't realize that's what you call your dad. So
no, everyone calls my dad Chico. Again, he's from Guatemala.
Yep.
And so there's a whole half of my family that is like very like Latin, like American, like music is like all Hispanic. So like a lot of Selena was like played in my house, like when I would like just be living, I guess. But then on my mom's side, it was very much like music was played like while we were doing things. So like if she was like outside gardening, we spent a lot of time in the yard. And she would just have a radio on and it would just be playing like the oldie station.
Oh yeah.
And so and like if my grandma would pick me up, like Nanny would like take me to places because single mom, we did a lot of things with my grandma and my uncles. And so in her car, it was always the like 60s, 70s and 80s playlist.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my music was like in transit of stuff.
Yeah.
Or
it was
like
in the background.
It was in the background, but also I identified it and like I knew of it because then I remember in particular, like when I got in middle school, I would sing along to those things. And my teachers would be like, "Why do you know that?" And I'm like, "It's on like in my house." Like, yeah. But as far as like personally, like taking like an interest to it, it was John. It was my brother.
Yeah.
I think you kind of saw a little bit of that too, like when you met him. I remember he was huge into Linkin Park and like Deftones. And so Linkin Park, I think I mentioned it too on another podcast episode where it was like the thing that I would listen to that he would also listen to. And I was like, oh, this is different than what's on the radio really. And I like it and I want to attach to it. And a little bit was because, I looked up to John and I still do look up to John. So like he'll still send me things and I'm like, you're right. This is good. But now it's kind of like a two-way street.
Yeah.
And so I think the Linkin Park was kind of like the first introduction into like rock-ish / like they have that like just that sound where like Chester's singing and then that Mike Shinoda is like doing like more like lyric heavy kind of like voice, I don't know, rap like over it.
Were you like kind of identifying these things early on of like why the music was different?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so because my friends didn't like Linkin Park.
Okay.
Like we weren't listening to the same things. Like I remember when hit clips were a thing. Do you remember hit clips?
Oh my God, yes.
I remember I had like a Ricky Martin hit clip and that was like it.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't other ones that I liked.
God, I haven't thought about that in 20 years.
You're welcome. Yes. And so after that, I was more into middle school and that's when I became different from like that sounded so gross. Like that's when I was different. I'm different.
I'm not like other girls.
Because I was like the emo kid.
Yeah.
That's when My Chemical Romance came into my life and Fall Out Boy, like you said, Panic at the Disco. I remember going to those first tours. Like I went to like the Black Parade is Dead tour and the Black Parade tour and Infinity on High. Like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Like was so huge for me. And then once I got into high school, that then those bands, first of all, started to take hiatuses.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was devastating to me because I'm like, holy shit, like I love this band, you're stopping. But it then led to pop punk. more in particular. And that world, I haven't left.
Yeah.
And I don't foresee me leaving.
You won't ever.
Yeah. And
we won't ever.
We were talking to the People Are Ugly boys. Make sure, if you haven't seen that episode,
watch it.
Please watch it because we're in the shower with them. But we asked them, we're like, they asked us, do you guys listen to the same music you listened to like however, like many years ago? And we're like, yeah.
I didn't know there was another answer to that question. And yes.
Yeah.
I assumed everyone did.
Right. And we still do. And I do enjoy now, I think, like a pretty wide variety, but definitely those very early influences control the trajectory because I don't listen to like country music at all.
And that'll always be the like core that you go back to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make the joke all the time where I'm like, when people ask like about music taste or whatever, I'm like, whatever you listened to in middle school, I never grew up. I just stayed there.
I stayed in middle school?
I just stayed there.
Yeah.
I stayed with the Fall Out Boy and the Panic at the Disco and the All Time Low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love those bands so much. They mean so much too. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's important, and it's so important. Influences hold so much. And I think that's important too. Like when you gain some sort of following, you have to kind of take into consideration you're going to be an influence to whoever's listening, whoever's watching you.
Yeah.
And that's something that we always ask the artists or whoever we're interviewing, like, who were your influences? Yeah. And also, like, did they help identify your sound, or what role did they play? Because sometimes the influence, you don't sound anything like them.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's actually been a common answer that we've had.
Like, not being a musician kind of surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
But that it has been common where they were like, this is what I grew up on, but this is what I sound like.
Yeah. And sometimes too, the answer changes to, it's like, no, like I loved like Bruce Springsteen. I don't sound like him, but I love his work ethic.
Yeah.
Or I love X, Y, and Z stage performance. Mm-hmm. And so that's like what I'm going to like try to like feed off of, not replicate, not try to like copy.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try to put that same like passion or that same like drive that they had into my performance and make it my own. And that's all that art is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I think Jordan talked about that perfectly in this interview, where he talks about early influences. He talks about influences on his music, but then also like influences on how he performs and like the stage presence and how he wants to make people in the audience feel. Like, it's so, we've said it so many times, but like us not being musicians ourselves, like it's so cool to get into the brain of people that think like that and like draw inspiration from so many different sources, and they all come together.
People who have to do the job that we take pictures of.
Yes.
And video.
And make our job easy.
Yes.
Sometimes.
It's so nice when artists take into consideration that stuff.
The performance aspect of it and just the whole.
All of it. All aspects. Yeah. I love it so much. And that was the long tangent about why influence is so important. But I think that was the biggest takeaway of this interview that I had.
Yeah. It was, Jordan had so many good things to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So many good things. It was such a fun conversation. The show was amazing.
Yeah.
Make sure, check out City of Auburn if you haven't.
Listen to their music. If they're playing a show near you, definitely
go see. Because again, yes, to listen to them is great, but to see them live is even better. So
we talk about this all the time, but I feel like there are bands and artists that there's two different avenues you can go. You are either an artist that plays your music live, or you are an artist that puts on a performance.
Yes.
They put on a performance. And it is so fun to watch, and it is so fun to be in the crowd for. Yeah. Cannot recommend enough. Go follow them on everything so you know when they're coming near you.
Definitely do that. And that's this episode. And I'm very excited for you guys to, take away whatever you want to take away.
Yeah. We hope you feel like Jshep is your friend too. Because he is.
He is your friend, yes. Make sure you say it. He's very easily accessible. He's the most kind person ever. I love him.
Amazing. Can't sing his praises enough.
We can't. But yeah, thank you so much for listening, for watching. If you could ever be so kind. I hate this part.
We are once again asking.
We're once again here to ask you. Please rate the podcast. The episodes count. Okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can be like, I rated the last episode I listened to. Yeah. Can you rate this one too?
And leave a review. That's the biggest thing that helps us get found by people.
Yeah, it helps push the podcast forward. Just brings us to more ears, I think.
Take 3 minutes. Talk about how great we are, how much you enjoy the podcast.
Talk about your favorite thing on the wall.
Yeah. If you hate it, keep those thoughts to yourself.
Yeah. Or you can DM us personally and I will read them to myself silently and delete them so Madi doesn't see them.
Don't do that.
I'll comment back.
L'Oreal fights all our battles.
Somebody has to.
Someone has to.
Might as well be me. I'll take them on. Promise. But yes.
But thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed listening to Jordan. Obviously, go follow him on everything.
Jordan.
Who's Jordan?
Jshep. Go follow Jshep.
Yep.
Follow us if you want. We are backing the barricade on all social medias.
Yep.
Not LinkedIn.
Unfortunately.
Yep. Maybe one day.
But we will see you guys next week.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye.